there's a loud siren going by. I haven't had to pause for sirens in so long. Oh my gosh, this is taking me back to when I lived in Midtown. Wow.
That's an appropriate pause for Sea of Monsters.
What's good? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Newest Olympian. My name is Mike Schubert. I'm the titular Newest Olympian. I'm a grown man who never read the Percy Jackson books as a kid, but I read them as an adult because I was on a quest to determine if society had been sleeping on the series. I said yes, and now I'm seeing if society has been sleeping on the TV show, which they shouldn't be. We're talking about episode 7 today, and it's really good. And there's only 8 episodes this season, which breaks my heart. I would love a plot twist surprise. It's actually a 10-episode season, but alas, we're going to be breaking down that 7th episode with a very special guest, someone you've heard on the pod many a times. They're a host and a producer at Screen Rant. It's Liam Crowley. Liam, how's it going?
Mike, I'm doing fantastic. It's funny, every time I hear you do that intro, especially in the context of the TV show, I'm like, this time you're not the newest Olympian, you're the earliest Olympian, because we can peel back the curtain a little bit. We're seeing the episodes earlier than anyone else.
We are indeed, which is nice, and then hard because you can't talk about them. And yeah, we're recording this one on January 9th. For context, it'll be coming out in the future, but it's a really good one. These episodes are really solid. For even more peeking of the curtains, we were given screeners, at least for me, I was given 1 through 4 and then 5 through 7. I still have not received access to 8 yet. I don't know if anyone has. I don't know if there's like some elite crew, but from everyone that I've talked to who normally get screeners, they also have not seen the finale. So truly don't know what's ahead.
Yeah, I'm in the dark there too. It's also funny because there's no alert. Like typically you'll get an email, like again, peeking behind the curtain, early access to anything, usually get an email, hey, this is in your inbox or this is in your account. The Percy stuff was like, did it ever get added? And like 3 days before the junket, I checked and I was like, oh, it's been there. Just no one told me. So yeah, I guess we'll have to refresh as we get closer to the big finale. But part of me too is like, I kind of want to watch it live, you know?
Yeah, if I didn't have to try and like preload with the work, I think it would be fun to watch it live and just be of it. But I got to get in and do all these podcasts and breaking down stuff and all. And I like to watch it multiple times and, you know, with the subtitles on and taking notes and blah, 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 which I've done all for this episode. So I think we should get into it. You've been on the pod a bunch. I feel like I've asked you a good chunk of the repeating guest questions. I've asked you your fatal flaw, right? I feel like I've asked you that one.
I think you have, and I can't remember what my answer is.
Yeah.
I'll see what my fatal flaw is right now in this here and present moment. The air quality in January. Address the elephant in the room. I feel like my voice sounds a little congested right now. And the second I got back to the city after holiday break, whatever seasonal allergies and just like sniffle nose.
Sure.
I've been having everything. Electrolytes, zinc, vitamin C, just trying to fight this little common cold before it turns into the super flu.
Yeah, the only zinc I've been doing is putting zinc on my baby's skin because we have decided to skip winter by going to Australia. Highly recommend everyone do that. Just fly where winter isn't. When it's cold, it's great. But yeah, I guess the next question would be if you had a riptide, so you had an inanimate object that turned into something that you use more regularly that's bigger and clunkier, what would you do? Mine is always I would use some sort of like friendship bracelet and turn it into my laptop so that I wouldn't have to like carry around a backpack everywhere and shove it under seats and stuff. And it's kind of heavy. Other people have done like headphones that turn into water bottles, stuff like that.
This is a really good question because I've often thought about this with practical things from like the Marvel universe. Like I'd love to have PIM particles for a car. That way I could just drive around the city and never have to worry about parking. Just put my car in my pocket or something. But I don't like driving.
So maybe you have like a Hot Wheels? Oh, yeah.
I like taking the subway nowadays. So I will say I often wear watches, whether it be like a smart watch or whether it be a more jewelry piece of jewelry watch. I'll do a watch that turns into, I'll say a bike. I love riding a bike, good. But bikes are a nightmare to get around, almost more than a car.
Because it's like, what do I do with it now? You got to find a place to lock it where it's not going to get stolen. I get it.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I like that. That's good. Okay, so let's get into this episode. So the last time on for this episode really does just kind of say what's on last time, as opposed to doing something where they give you a hint about what's to come. So I was excited about that. You get right into it. It opens with, quote, intense orchestral music. Mm-hmm. And it's a bit of a flashback. We've got Thalia fighting the Furies, and then it's a flash forward, but still to something that happened in the past. We have young Annabeth, Luke, and Grover looking at the tree with Chiron. It's very well shot where, you know, the showdown is going down and then it kind of flashes into where Thalia was standing against the Furies, and then now she's a tree at Camp Half-Blood. Pretty good stuff. I enjoyed the flashback here.
Yeah, the cinematography was dope. I love any nighttime scenes in Percy Jackson. I love nighttime scenes in just these kind of like bigger budget mythological series, especially because I think it masks some of the visual effects in a good way. The Furies, when we first met one of the Furies in season 1, I think it's fair to say at this point, like, that was season 1, different kind of budget. We can go back and be like, let's admit that the visual effects of the Furies at the beginning was not as good as it was in this episode. So I thought it was cool to see them again, see them a little bit more ferocious and win, because when one of the Furies attacked Percy, just, you know, he uncapped Riptide and just disappeared to dust. This time around, we don't see, Thalia go down, but it's heavily implied it did not go down in a polite way. So yeah, it was a dope opening scene.
That's fun. Now, Luke in this little flashback is displeased, and then Annabeth is very young and is looking at the tree, and the tree begins to glow, and it glows gold, and then it says, "Hey kid, let's get out of here." And then Annabeth in the present wakes up, so it's an Annabeth dream, but she still hears, "We take care of our own." And we see that Annabeth is tied to a bed with the golden fleece on her. So then Allison comes in, she yoinks it away, and Annabeth fake sleeps when she enters, so lets her do that, and then only after she leaves the room is trying to look around and see what should I do. But we cut to the Princess Andromeda, which is docked in some dock in Long Island. I'm not well versed in docks in Long Island. I don't know if there's any sort of dock or harbor that could fit a cruise ship this large. I'm also not well versed in cruise ships, but spending a bunch of time here in Sydney and at Sydney Harbor, where the Opera House is and the big bridge is, the harbor bridge, like, it takes a lot of space. Cruise ships are enormous, super duper duper big. And I don't know, I feel like I'd have to ask a Long Island resident if this is even feasible. Obviously, this is something different than what happens in the book, but it is a comical visual of the giant cruise ship in something that is clearly meant for more dinghies and small boats, a ferry at best.
We do a podcast on Screen Rant called Challenge My Goat, and my producer always calls me out because he's like, every single time we do an episode, you always have to name drop that you live in New York City. And I'm like, well, John, so much of the stuff we cover takes place in New York City, and it's cool.
Yeah.
You get landmarks that I'm familiar with. And when you're talking, I know Long Island is not New York City, but still, when you're talking about the Princess Andromeda docking there, I have no point of reference. And I really wish I could relate, but I've been to Long Island one time, and it was at an aquarium. So that's all I got.
I've been a handful of times. It's fine. I've never been to like the Montauk area, which I assume is very nice, but alas, it is played up for comedy because we have the grumpy dude who runs the dock saying that he can't handle this boat and all of these people. So it's clearly played up for this shouldn't be happening. I'm curious, as a former engineer of like the physical logistics, like, could it even happen? Or are we in a Suez Canal situation where the Princess Andromeda lives here forever now? But we then see this guy who's clearly representing the ship. He's the same guy we saw before talking to the Laestrygonians. Of course, because he's super duper smarmy and wearing a blazer and stuff, his name is Aiden. No disrespect to all the Aidens out there. I'm sure there are some lovely Aidens, but it does just fit as like a smarmy face talking guy name. Like, it just feels right. It just feels correct to me. So we also see the hippocampi in the water dropping off our friends. And then we see this conversation with Aiden and the grumpy guy continue, but Tyson uses his mimicking powers to mimic Allison's voice and lures Aiden into a bathroom where Clarisse then grabs him. He tries to sweet talk Percy, and Clarisse tells him to lose the Charmspeak or lose his teeth. And I thought this was very cool as someone who's currently reading the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus series. I don't think Charmspeak gets introduced as an Aphrodite camper power until the sequel series. Like, to my recollection, I don't think that's something that they said those campers had the power of until Piper started doing it. So for them to kind of take a Heroes of Olympus thing and put it into the second book, I thought was very fun.
That's a really good observation. I have no point of reference for when Charmspeak was introduced, because it must have been Heroes, because I don't recall on my first read of the Percy Jackson books when I was a kid, me being privy to that. But that is also my dream ability, is if I could choose anything, especially in a practical sense. I do interviews for a living. Are you kidding me? Like,
sure.
That's the way to get the actual answers. That's the way to ask Marvel actors and not have them lie through their PR teeth, is to Charmspeak.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it is something that clearly was a change for Rick, because early on in the series, the first 5 books, the Aphrodite campers are just the butts of jokes. They just are jokes about how all their armor is pink and they take a long time to do their hair and blah, blah, blah. And then when we establish Selena Beauregard is a bigger deal, we have to make them cooler. And there's an abrupt change in ha 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 Aphrodite campers to we like Aphrodite campers. They're cool. And it takes place in the Demigod Files. Like, it's between books 4 and 5, they get cool.
I will say, too, this scene brought up a small issue I have with the series that I've now noticed a pattern of between the 2 seasons. There was a scene in season 1, I think it was the penultimate episode, or maybe it was the finale, whenever the end of the Ares fight was. And as Ares is going back to Olympus and he's like ascending, Grover says, "Oh, don't look at his true form," and they all look away. And that felt like a good like little wink and nod to anyone who knows the books of like, you're not supposed to look at the god's true form. But when you're translating this to a general audience, sometimes you have to show the consequence of the thing and then afterwards explain what the thing is. And so in season 1,
no one knows. Yeah,
I wish they would have done something. I don't know how you show a consequence of someone staring at a god's true form, but for this one, it would have been super easy. Have Aiden, as he's walking through the dock, Charmspeak someone into letting him keep the boat. We don't get any explanation on it. We, as Percy Jackson diehards, know what he just did. And then when he tries talking to Percy, that is when he has said, "Oh, lose the Charmspeak, Aphrodite boy." And then it's like, oh, that's what he was doing. Little things like that. Again, the fact that we can nitpick is such a luxury. So I want to emphasize that. But I would love for the show to become more aware of those things where, you know, you don't just always have to be faithful with a wink and a nod to the diehards. You can be faithful by also incorporating those winks and nods into the rules you're playing with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd have to rewatch to see if it seems like he is Charmspeaking the boat guy, to see if that's, you know, an example of him doing it and then him trying it again. But it didn't seem like on the watches that I did, like that was the case. It just felt like he was trying to talk his way out of it, not that he was really winning the guy over. So I guess, yeah, maybe you make it a little more explicit if you're going to make the reference. I could see that. Percy asks, "Where's Annabeth?" And one thing I did notice is that Aiden is wearing a Chronoscythe lapel pin on his blazer, which I thought was very interesting. And again, it makes me want to ask the prop department, just because there's so many cool things that the prop department is working with here. So they tie Aiden up. They take his key card. Aiden apparently told them that the fleece was in Luke's room, so Clarisse wants to go there, but Percy wants to save Annabeth first. Clarisse does not want to. Grover enters, saying that he couldn't contact camp because Iris didn't accept his offering, saying something's up here. Again, another new thing for the TV show versus the book. It gets explained later, and it's interesting because, again, I feel like this is something that mimics a Heroes of Olympus thing, but we can discuss that when we get to the explanation later in the episode. Percy then grabs the keycard away from Clarisse. It's becoming a bit of a trend for him to yoink things away from her without telling her. Like a little bit of a rude boy Percy trend here. But he says the fleece is going to be heavily guarded, so an alarm will probably sound if they get it, and that's why he wants to get Annabeth first. Clarisse thinks that a rescue mission is a risk for the quest, and she's done risking the quest. She says they're only in this position because of Percy. And Percy says, "Look, I've been on the boat before. I've got the invisibility hat. I've got the key card." Clarisse says, "Cool, hand them over." He goes, No, let's work together." Clarisse says, "No way." And then Percy goes into dark Percy mode, where he says to Clarisse that maybe her prophecy was right. You will fail without friends because you push everyone away. Which, look, I wasn't expecting this. Obviously, Percy and Clarisse don't get along, but this feels a little more edgy than Percy usually is.
Yeah, and it's nice to see a little bit of like fire out of him in the sense of when tensions get high, like he is still a kid. at the end of the day. Like, he has to go on this journey. He has to stumble quite a bit. I won't spoil anything. I don't even want to say this, but there's a big thing he does in Heroes of Olympus, because I don't even know if you're there yet, but anyone who's listening knows what I'm talking about. There's a big thing he does in Heroes of Olympus that I was like, whoa, he's still learning about what it means to be a good person and what his moral compass is. And there are certain conversations he has throughout the original books that you can tell it is that lack of frontal lobe development. It's wild.
Sure.
I'm going through it right now, Mike. I'm about to turn 26 this year, and I literally feel in real time me thinking before I speak. And I'm like, whoa, how about that? Isn't that crazy? Being able to process 5 minutes of conversation in half a second. And Percy's at that age where he doesn't care about pricking someone who he's prickly with, if it means, saving his best friend.
Right. And speaking of that, I can kind of understand, because as we always establish our age gap here, I usually am pretty good about thinking about what I say before I say it, especially because I'm so trained with like doing it on the podcast and stuff like that. It's important to choose your words wisely. But whenever I am in the heat of the moment playing sports, something just takes over and I can never hold it in, whether it's trash talk or just general like on court chatter or whatever it is. And I'll have big, like self-therapy sessions afterwards, on the subway ride home or the ferry ride home or taking a shower. I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I feel the need to say that to the shortstop? I didn't need to say that to him. Like, that was so unnecessary. But it's like, I can't even think. It's not even that I thought like, should I say this? And then I say it. It's just like, it's out before I can even think about it. So I can understand with Percy being riled up and emotional and wanting to save Annabeth and someone getting in his way, him being like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I see both sides. So Clarisse eventually gives in, or so we think. She does an incredible eye roll. Dior's eye roll here, I would interview her about this for 15 minutes because the eye roll itself is phenomenal. And she basically goes, all right, Jackson, how would you do it? And he starts to explain that there's an employee elevator. He says where it is. And then once he gives away enough information, she snatches the key card back and throws him to the ground and leaves. So great deception from Clarisse. Gotta hand it to her. She tricked Percy quite well.
Yeah, she's on a mission. She's the quest leader after all.
Yeah. So Percy vows to just get another key card. He tells Grover and Tyson to figure out a ride back to camp because they'll probably have to make a quick getaway once they get off the boat. So now we cut to Allison entering the Admiralty suite with the fleece. Luke asks, what are you doing? And Allison says that it's time to start using this fleece to heal Kronos and not the enemy. And Luke says, Annabeth is not the enemy. Allison says that she threw her off the ship and then tried to blow it up. That feels like a stretch. Annabeth didn't throw you off the ship. You attacked her. Percy tackled her out of the way and you fell off of the ship. And also technically Tyson tried to blow up the ship. This feels like you're being especially rude to Annabeth. What's the deal? Well, is there some sort of pent up anger? Do they have a history? Why is she being so anti-Annabeth? It's probably because she wants Luke to care for her and not
I'll play
Annabeth.
devil's advocate here. Luke should be on the side of Allison Sims. He should be on the side of, like, it's too early to have these thoughts, Luke, of being an anti-hero, being someone with shades of gray. Like, I don't want to say I'm disappointed by Luke showing his humanity a little bit more this season earlier than expected. And I'm sure when we have a full 5-season arc, again, fingers crossed that we get to all 5 books. I'm sure it'll make sense when you get to watch this in one big binge. But for now, like, man, I want to see that edge. I want to see that Luke that ruthlessly stabbed Thalia's tree with poison and said, I'll see you around, and hopped on Blackjack and got out of there. Like that. That's the kind of Luke I want to see. So I don't want to say I back Allison Sims personally, but I like what she's trying to do of like, hey, man, what side are you on? Pick one.
Right. Now, as number one Luke hater, I totally understand. And I agree. I want to be able to hate Luke. And TV show Luke has made it complicated to do so because Charlie's a likable person and they're making more likability stuff for Luke in general in the show. That being said, I'll, again, have to see, like you're saying, what goes on with the 5 seasons, because I could see the arc being season 1, we like Luke. Season 2, we half and half like him. We absolutely hate this dude, season 3 and 4. Like, he's fully evil, not redeemable, terrible person, completely lost. And then 5, we come back around to like, okay, maybe we like him when he does what he does in book 5. So they could be doing that. I do think it is interesting with the introduction of Allison to kind of have Annabeth and Luke each have a person trying to take them away from the other. So Percy's trying to yoink Annabeth away from siding with Luke, and Allison is trying to yoink Luke away from siding with Annabeth. And I think it's fun to have that from both directions and not just one in the book, because I think you're absolutely right. Luke, if he's going for big evil leader of Kronos' army, he should not be doing this at all. But I think it's trying to show the viewer he's got this little soft spot for Annabeth, and they are making him a little more likable than he was in the book. But as long as he becomes a huge jerk by books 3 and 4, I'll allow it. So I'm going to be patient. And given the ending of this episode, maybe that's the turn. Like, the end of this episode might be jerk Luke engage, and we'll have to see how things continue.
Yeah, I just don't want any half.
But I think it's valid criticism.
Yeah, and I also too, like, I don't even hate Luke. I do like Luke. Luke is my favorite character in Percy Jackson on the page, because I love a villain who sees himself as the hero of his own story and who is so married to the mission that, like, the tunnel vision blocks out all reason. It's why Thanos is so good, because the real solution in Infinity War is just double the resources.
Yeah,
but he's so lasered in on his way is the only way to solve it that he won't listen to any other reason. And so that's what I want out of Luke. And I think we are going to get there. And I think part of this early on, especially having the luxury of having scenes that he's the only character on screen. The scene with the sarcophagus is brilliant. Like getting to have that struggle and see what that struggle looks like between him and Kronos without having Percy being the one to narrate it. That might be a true, honest scene from the books that we just never got because Percy's the first person narrator.
Totally.
So yeah, again, I don't have a big issue with it this early on. I just, let's no more half measures, Luke. Like the only thing between you and your dreams is making decisions, saying yes or no. No maybes.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good thing to kind of flag, and we'll kind of see how it goes. But I also think, from someone who read the books, I think they probably could have done a better job of making me like Luke a little bit more. Because I think it's just kind of like, in the beginning of book 1, he's so fun, and then he's just like terrible. So I think them adding a little more likability could be good for some of the people like me who were just so quick to jump down team I hate Luke, all my homies hate Luke when I read the books. So we'll see. I'm intrigued to see how it goes over the 5 seasons. So Luke then just silently takes the fleece and puts it on the sarcophagus. And now it has me worried, because this means Percy did have a little bit of a role in Kronos' return, because the new thing in the show is that Percy gives the fleece to Luke. That didn't happen in the books, but also in the books, the fleece never got on the sarcophagus. So at first when that happened, I was like, okay, this doesn't mean Percy has to have played a role in bringing back Kronos. But now it's established that he kind of did. And I got to figure out how I feel about this. I don't know. Like, Percy did play a role in it. It's very interesting.
Well, we know what his fatal flaw is. Anyone who's read the books knows his fatal flaw. Mm-hmm. And also we know the great prophecy at this point.
They say it in the show. Yeah, right. They say it at the end of the episode as well.
Can I say out loud? But, like, you've read all 5 books.
Yeah. I approach these TV show episodes, and I always forget to do this, but I should give disclaimers in the beginning in case people are new to the show and they have not read ahead. I approach these episodes with wherever I am. At the end of the day, the podcast is my journey, so I'm always where I'm at. So I think anything up to what I'm reading for the live show in Perth tomorrow is, so up to like chapter 12 of Heroes of Olympus, I think is good.
Yeah.
And if you have not known what's ahead, maybe be careful. We're going to be like, there's too much big picture stuff to talk about. Maybe read some books and come back. I won't be upset. The podcast isn't going anywhere.
Yeah. On that note, I was going to say it's good to show little teaser trailers of what Percy's fatal flaw in action looks like, because his fatal flaw is at play. The fact that Kronos, his resurrection has begun as early as season 2, episode 7, is a direct result of him putting his friends before the greater good. It's a very shade of gray issue. If the fate of the world was on the line and my dog Piper's life, don't make me choose. Like, I get that struggle. But before the fate of the world is on the line, we should see what the consequences of choosing your friends over the greater good, the smaller-ish good, looks like in the moment. So I like that change for the show.
Yeah, it's fun to see it more than just hear about how it could be bad. because I think ultimately, it's going to still get the same sort of result where like Kronos comes back, but not because of the fleece, because at the end of this episode, the fleece is not on the sarcophagus. So yeah, I think you're right. It's a good way to see, hey, this is what could happen. And it's a thing that they can, and I'm sure they will, refer back to later with other loyalty concerns. They'd be like, your loyalty almost brought back Kronos, they can refer to this moment in the future, and I think it'll be good. So when Luke puts the fleece on, it glows a little bit, and Luke starts to look worried when they do a close-in on his face. And my read of it is he knows what's about to go down. Like, he knows the next step for the Kronos return. And I think that look was, oh no, I'm not sure that I want to do this next part because
It reminds me of like me being like angry at my parents growing up and like wanting to do something about it. I remember, this is a really random anecdote that just came to my mind. One time I was like upset at my mom, and I was like 8 years old and just being like a prick, and I just unplugged the crock pot before the food was even close to being done.
Whoa.
Like, ruined dinner, and I felt so bad immediately after, and I was like, why did I do that? It's just like heat of the moment, like how Luke feels resurrecting Kronos. That's me unplugging the crock pot and us not having dinner that night when I was like, what a wee boy.
We get shots of the empty cruise ship. We get Clarisse then entering the break room area, and Percy is on the empty Lido deck. Clarisse steals some demigod snacks before going over towards the weapons. I love this. If I saw snacks out, even if I was on this mission, I'd be eating some snacks. I completely get it. Percy on the deck then hears some whinnying, so we know this is going to be Blackjack. He begins to check it out, but then there's a rogue demigod there, so he hides. We cut back to the break room. Some rogues are explaining how Zeus told Iris to shut down the network because he found out that the rogue demigods were using it, and then one of the others thinks that Zeus wouldn't do that because it would hurt his own people, and then the first guy goes, this is Zeus we're talking about, and then the third one there was like, hey, can we stop trash talking Zeus so loudly? Maybe so we don't get smitten, we get smited, whatever the past tense of smite is. Percy then uses his invisibility hat, and by his I mean Annabeth's, to trap that rogue demigod in a bar that is poolside. He takes her card, but then he approaches Blackjack, and we learn from the scene that Percy can understand because he is talking and says, hey, I'm going to get you out of here, buddy, but I don't have a lot of time. And then, oh, sorry, Blackjack. So clearly it's the thing where he's having a conversation with the horse, but we don't get the Pegasus voice acting to him. I'm a little worried. I want there to be a voice actor for Blackjack. I think it should be Jack Black. I feel like they should get a proper voice because Blackjack is so funny that if we only do the comedic bit of, Percy reacting, which we do hear and we see, for example, in The Son of Neptune in Heroes of Olympus, when someone else is narrating and Percy's talking with a horse of any sorts, and like when he talks to Arion and Frank is the narrator and Percy's just relaying, that is a funny bit. I think Blackjack is so funny though that it would be a disservice for us not to actually hear what he's saying. I hope that they go the voice acting route and not just the Percy can hear it but none of us can route. I'm a little worried, I'm not gonna lie.
I think they will. I would be surprised if they don't, and I think the reason for no voice actor cast yet is the same reason that the EPs told me when I was asking about, you hear someone during the chariot race say, glory to Hephaestus, and it was off screen, and I was like, was that voice Charles Beckendorf? And they were like, we're not going to say if that voice was or wasn't Charles Beckendorf, but we will tell you Charles Beckendorf is at Camp Half-Blood right now. We just haven't put a face to a name because until we're ready to fully commit to an actor, we don't want to show you the face yet. So you can rest assured that the character exists, but we won't cast until we have the narrative built out and we're confident. Because it's very different casting someone to say one line on screen and casting someone to fulfill a 3-episode subplot arc in a TV show. So on the voice cast
100%.
Blackjack, I think it's something where because we didn't hear a voice out loud, I think that eventually we will. And I remember, this is never going to happen because it's too expensive, but I remember someone, it might have been Walker himself, wanting it to be Ryan Reynolds because of the Adam Project connection.
Oh, man.
Of that kind of first big role would be really cool.
He would have to do it at a discount. Yeah.
Wouldn't be a lot of work, Ryan. You're in the Disney family already. Just saying. But if it was someone from Walker's Past, I think that would be really cool. Mark Ruffalo also worked with him on the Adam Project. I think he worked with Owen Wilson in a Paramount Plus movie.
He did. Owen Wilson might be a nice guy, but if Blackjack is like, oh wow, like I'd be so pissed. Yeah. Hey boss, boss, you gotta go get me some hay. Like I'd be so upset as someone that loves
good impression. That's a really good impression.
As someone who loves to make Blackjack comically Italian American, I need it. I need it. For me, it either needs to be someone very Italian or Jack Black. And people throw like, Mike, you should do it. I'm not an actor. They're not going to hire me. They're absolutely not going to do it. So everyone, you're very nice and very flattering. It's not going to happen. The best that I will be in the show is an extra in season 5. If I can be an asleep New Yorker, I would love it. I would love to be a sleeping New Yorker in season 5. That's the like attainable goal. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think you're right. I'm hoping that that's what it is. I hope that they're just kind of like delaying so they can cast the right person once they actually have him in the script, as opposed to just being, 1 or 2 lines. So
I feel good.
Cool. Good. So he frees him. More rogues then pile in to the break room. They're going to play with Aiden's Mytho-Magic set while he's out. And this is the second time that this episode has utilized the phrase, someone is going to be so pissed. And I'm just intrigued. I would have to ask someone, I guess, on Disney staff or someone that works in whatever the TV ratings is. But how far up on the curse allowed scale for a kids show is pissed? Because maybe my parents were different, but I was not allowed to say that I was pissed off or anything of that regard. That was like on par with saying like damn or ass in my schooling, which I view as okay enough to say on this podcast where I don't have to bleep it, but not say them a lot so that, 12-year-olds don't start saying it. But I don't think these words have to be bleeped, but I wonder, kind of like how there's the scale for PG-13 and R, like how many times can they say this? Twice in one episode to me was surprising.
I don't know. That's a good shout, because as the oldest of 3, I was under the most strict rules growing up when it came to language. But by the time my brother was like 8 years old, I think damn and pissed were okay. And also being a Bostonian, pissed is just kind of vernacular.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I would just I'll have to look back when they actually hit Disney Plus. If they have the little warnings, I wonder if episode 7 has like crude language or is anything mild language instead of the other one saying nothing. Percy goes to rescue Annabeth. He says wise girl before he takes the hat off to signify that he's there. When he does save her, she goes Grover with concern. And Percy says, no, we got him. And then he asks her if the hat is itchy for her. I liked him doing this. This felt like the thing that Rick does in the books a lot, where if there hasn't been a joke for a while, we got to put something funny in the mix. So Percy having a little bit of, is this hat always this itchy, was fun for me. Annabeth says that they can't leave without the fleece. Percy says Clarisse is getting it. Annabeth is shocked that they're working together. Percy says, we're only kind of working together. You're my priority and the fleece was hers. Annabeth says the fleece is all that matters, especially now that she understands what it can do. Very clearly, Thalia, bringing back our friend who is currently a tree. So then the rogues plus Luke enter. Percy puts on the hat. Luke asks Annabeth how she feels, and Percy had already cut her ropes, so now she's faking that she's still tied up. She says that she's alive, and she thanks him for retrieving her dagger as well. And he goes, it was mine first, remember? And then he says, things always end up where they should, and then he puts it down on a table. I think this is just kind of a seed plant for the cursed blade. They're just making more of a reminder that, oh yeah, we're about to drop the cursed blade line of the prophecy. I think they're just trying to leave a little more breadcrumbs for people to figure out. I'm still kind of mad about that cursed blade line in the Great Prophecy. I think it was stupid. So them adding in a little more signification earlier on, I think is good.
I need to refresh on the Great Prophecy a little bit, because I don't have any specific issues, but I read these books with a lot less methodical analysis than Mike ever did.
You didn't read them over the course of 6 months?
Well, when I was a kid, everything was so exciting at 7 years old. But on my second reread over COVID, I think I read the core pentology in about a month. So like there were a few things that I like paused and harped on. But yeah, I'll have to hear the Great Prophecy again. But Cursed Blade Shall Reap, kind of a cool verbiage to use, I guess.
They say it in the ending of the episode, or at least they start to get into it, and Percy cuts him short, but it's a half-blood of the eldest gods shall reach 16 against all odds and see the world in endless sleep. The hero's soul, cursed blade, shall reap. So that's the thing. I didn't like that the cursed blade was the dagger, because we only learn about the dagger's history in book 5, and it just feels like we've known this prophecy for so long. I think I even said in an episode, I was like, well, the dagger's not the cursed blade. And then, alas, so it is. It just felt like the cursing of it was silly, because it was like, oh, because the broken promise. Like, it's not I didn't think the blade was cursed. I thought that I've said this on the show.
It's circumstantially cursed, so to speak.
That's the thing. Like, the blade isn't cursed, but it's like the curse. But look, that's prophecy for you, baby. So Luke explains that the fleece is speeding up Cronus' return from Tartarus. He says that this is all thanks to Percy, who defied the gods by handing it over to him. And he goes, kid's got heart. I'm not going to lie. And I like hearing Luke talk about Percy the way that Charlie talks about Walker. It's funny for like the little older brother, younger brother dynamic to find its way into the show. Annabeth tells Luke that Percy was not thinking about the gods. He was thinking about saving a friend. And Luke goes, and he ended up saving the world. And this is a good show of Luke just being so far gone. Like, if you think that Kronos coming back and destroying the world is saving it, I think it's a good tell of he's in too deep. This dude is not going to be saved. He's way too far gone.
Yeah, to further my devil's advocate-ness, but in the other direction, we haven't seen the gods really do much damage. Like, it's all just kind of like implied, and it's a lot of neglect. And not to say that that's not damage, but this is a pretty harsh, like, I don't even know how I would relate that to the real world, but just to kind of continue on the analysis of that, it is very like, this wasn't happening and I wasn't getting my way, so now I'm going to bring back the Titan Overlord. Like, it's
an overcorrection.
Harsh reaction. Overcorrection is a good way of putting it. Yeah. And I hope we get to see a little bit more of the gods messing up in ways that go beyond just neglect. Like, I want to see a tangible, like an action they did was wrong, as opposed to the existence of inaction just being wrong.
Sure. And look, maybe this Iris message thing is that. Thalia being a tree when maybe you could have done something else could be that. I think it could be there. Annabeth tells Luke to stop all of this, but she does it in a way that tells Percy that he should leave now to get the fleece. She does this whole thing of like, stop this, go get the fleece and bring it to me. And it's clear that she is speaking in a way that is telling Percy what to do. So Percy then does leave. We hear, and Luke hears it too, a door opening far away. So Luke tells the other two rogue demigods in the room to check it out. And then we cut to Tyson hotwiring a car, but neither Tyson nor Grover wants to drive. Grover insists that Percy driving, which Tyson suggests, is a very, very bad idea. That feels like a nod. I feel like I've heard some of the kids giving Walker crap for failing his driver's test or something. I wonder if that was why that was put in, or just Percy Jackson, born and raised New Yorker, would not be good at driving. I totally get it. So I think that's one of the reasons.
I think he just got his license.
I think he just did, but I feel like I saw some interview in the press junket where there was some sort of like true false sort of thing, and he was the only person who had to like take a test twice or something. I'm not trying to besmirch his name, but I feel like I saw this on my Instagram feed suggested to me.
I only bring it up because literally when I was scrolling TikTok today, I saw, like, I think it was his birthday recently, right?
Yes, a couple days ago, yeah.
And there was some post of like him with a car, and I think the caption was like, just got my driver's license. I don't know. Now I'm just like, but just the fact that it was in this scene about him driving, and I saw that recently, I was like, that's a funny little connection. He'll definitely be able to drive by next season.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, wow. Wild. So they don't have any money. The Hippocampi don't want to be this far north in the water because it's too cold. So Tyson sent them home. Tyson suggested they call on someone stronger and wiser who can help. And it's Sally. She is grocery shopping in Montauk. She is confused, asking if something happened at camp. Tyson doesn't want to tell her that things are bad. He asks for a ride to camp. She goes, wait, aren't you at camp? And Grover then takes over. Sally immediately knows something is up if Grover's on the phone, since he's supposed to be on the other side of the world. He lies that they were on a field trip, but Sally, who is really showing her seer powers, can see through it instantly. And she says this line, which a clerk overhears, where she says she's been a mother to a demigod for 13 years and a cyclops for 1. Just tell me what's going on. And the clerk overhears this and kind of slowly takes the basket away and gives like a look. I feel like that's a perfect point for us to take our mid-episode break, the sea of sponsors, where we'll talk about updates of the podcast and stuff. Maybe an update about the New Zealand leg of the tour. I think I may have like 1 or 2 Australia shows left by the time you're hearing this. I'm not sure, but we'll talk about fun stuff. Whee! Hello and welcome to the Sea of Sponsors, and welcome to the rare appearance of me, ASMR Mike, but in the mid-roll break. I'm recording this one very late on Friday night here in Melbourne, Australia, and I have put together the episode, got to do the mid-roll break stuff, so we're going to do that now, and then I'll be posting the episode in the wee hours of Saturday morning, Saturday, January 17th, where we'll be doing the live show for the Newest Olympian here in Melbourne. I've got updates about the podcast, mainly about live show stuff. So let's get into it. So yes, later today, if you're listening to this when it drops, I will be performing a live show in Melbourne, Australia at Comedy Republic. At the time of recording this, there are 7 tickets left. So if you want to see the show, go get them. And I'm really hoping we sell the show out, or as I've learned that they refer to it here in Australia, I want the shows to be allocation exhausted. So that could be a really fun time. I also have a show in Brisbane that at the time of recording has 9 tickets left. So if you want to get those before the allocations are exhausted there, you can also go to thenewestolympian.com/live. I am also happy to report that the Auckland live show that we were going back and forth about is for sure locked in now. It's going to be on Thursday, February 5th. I do know that conflicts with a music festival in Auckland in which Chapel Roan is performing. I would not be upset at any of you for choosing Chapel Roan over me. I completely understand Pink Pony Club is a bop, so you got to do what you got to do. But if you want to come through to TNO, you should get your tickets at thenewestolympian.com/live. And if the only reason you're going to Chapel Roan is because I let you know that was happening, you should buy something off the merch store. But the other thing I'm very excited about is that we've announced a bunch of new live show dates for 2026 beyond this Australia-New Zealand tour. So starting in March, we've got some shows in the US happening. So on March 15th, we'll be back in Vienna, Virginia for another show at Jam and Java. So stoked about it. Such a lovely venue. Always love doing shows there. And then doing a bunch of shows in April. April 9th in Berkeley, California. April 12th in Denver, Colorado. April 20th in Atlanta, Georgia, April 21st in Charlotte, North Carolina, and April 22nd in Raleigh, North Carolina. You can get tickets to all these shows right now at thenewsolympian.com/live. I am trying to add more show dates to that Berkeley, California, Denver, Colorado time before, in between, and maybe after. That is what I'm hoping to do, the oh my gosh, no one ever comes here tour stuff. I just have to start reaching out to venues in these cities. Basically, my tour guy locked into very well selling cities that I haven't performed in a while. And then for everything else, he was like, if you want to do it, go for it. So I'm going to try to book things in some cities that have larger populations of listeners, but aren't your traditional tour stop cities. So I'm going to do my best there, but I am doing it solo. So I'm going to try and do my darndest, but it is what it is. But all those tickets right now can be purchased at thenewsolympian.com/live. And I hope to see you at these shows. It's going to be really fun. These shows that I've been doing for House of Hades have been a blast. And pretty much all of these will be House of Hades, I think. So come on through. It'll be a delight. Only other update that I have is that whenever the TV show stuff finishes, so when I'm done posting episodes about the TV show and bonus episode interview, stuff like that, I'll probably take a week off because I was supposed to take a week off in December with it being a 5 Monday month. But since we were in the thick of the TV show coming out, I didn't want to do that. So I'll probably take a week off when we finish TV show stuff. And then we will do the myth check episode, the Dr. Moya chat for the previous book, The Mark of Athena, that we'd been covering. And then after that, we will get into the House of Hades. Maybe I'll do Dr. Moya and then the break, but basically I'm going to be taking a week off at some point. I just need to figure out how many more episodes I'm posting because I'm definitely doing an episode about the finale. And then I have one interview secured, but I'm going to try to secure some more. And then there's some that might come later because some of the people I want to interview will be back for filming because filming it has resumed or is resuming sometime in January. So not really sure. Might have something where, we're back covering House of Hades and then I just drop a bonus interview episode because I want it on the feed, but I don't want to wreck our House of Hades flow. So you might get some more stuff there. But yeah, as always, just follow the show on Instagram or join the Patreon and be in the Discord where I talk about updates and stuff like that if you want to stay in the know. And if you do listen to the podcast, just make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen to it because then you won't miss anything that I post. Now, I did just mention the Patreon, so I want to give a shout out to the folks who've joined the Patreon most recently. Shout out to our newest demigod tier patrons, Lauren Arenholtz and Shuchi Merchana. And I want to do a name correction for Erica Lehman. And if I've ever messed up your name, please send me a DM on Patreon. I will always gladly do a name correction. As someone who gets his name spelled wrong all the time, I want to make sure that your name is pronounced properly in your shout out. You paid for it. It's got to be right. But thank you, patrons, for all of your support. Who's the god of games? I guess like revelry. Let's just say Dionysus. May Dionysus bless you that if you are about to play an international sport for the first time, but it goes well and you don't have any weird injuries. A lovely TNO listener by the name of Meg is helping me to fulfill a dream of mine, which is to play some cricket before the Melbourne show. And I think it's going to be fun. I play baseball and softball, so I should be okay at bat swinging, ball throwing sport, but hopefully it all goes well. Dionysus helped me out. Now, if you're all caught up on the Newest Olympian and you're looking for some new content to consume in between episodes, you are in luck because I make a whole bunch of content and I think you would enjoy the content that I make. And one of the other podcasts that I make is a comedic basketball podcast called Horse. So if you've ever wanted to hear me and a professional stand-up comedian by the name of Adam Amawala discuss basketball on a bi-weekly basis, you should go check out Horse. We talk about the NBA, we talk about the WNBA, but we only cover the dramatic stuff. And dramatic stuff is coming up soon in the NBA because the trade deadline and the All-Star game are approaching in mid-February, so in about a month. So if you want to get caught up to speed with what's going on and all of the drama and stuff that will be going all about social media, just listen to Horse. Search for Horse wherever you get your podcasts or go to our new and improved website at horsehoops.com. Now, unless you're listening on Patreon or get access to ad-free episodes, you're going to hear words from a few sponsors to make it feasible for me to be a full-time podcaster. Some of those ads will be read by me and others of them won't be. The ones that aren't read by me are inserted locally. So if you live in Bangladesh, don't be surprised if you hear an ad in Bengali. But once those ads are complete, we'll get back into this episode of the Newest Olympian. And we're back. The first scene we see now is Allison alone in the Admiralty suite, and the coffin seems to talk to her, but again, we don't really hear it, much like the Blackjack kind of thing. She approaches, she bows, and then says, "It will be done." And she does her trademark Allison hair flip. If I ever interview Beatrice Kitsos, who plays Allison, I'm going to ask her about her hair flips. They've been very good, very intense turning around, and then her, I don't know what the technical term for the little hairs that stick on the side, but they kind of like as she goes around. And it's good. It's a good look for her.
Yeah, she's one of the best of the ensemble this season. I'm like
She's
very
been fun.
pleasantly surprised. And I say pleasantly surprised just because this character doesn't exist, you know? Like
Yeah.
I had no basis of what to expect with Allison Sims. And I would argue, I think it also helps because she is easily the most bought into the Kronos mission, at least in terms of characters who have a significant amount of dialogue. She's easily the most bought in. She reminds me a lot of Dior in season 1. Very assured of her character, very assured of her motives. And I'm glad that as of now, she's still alive because I'd like for that character to continue throughout the whole, show's arc.
Yeah, we'll see. I wonder if she'll make it out, or if what this episode sets up, there's a battle coming. I don't know. She might not make it out of that battle, especially if she is to be replaced by Chris Rodriguez. If we're following the way the book does, as kind of the second in command, I could see that going on, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Now, I was wondering if this was going to be a Percy trick since he had the invisibility hat. I wondered if he had the invisibility hat and he was like, "Allison, leave," like doing his best Kronos impression, but that was not what it was. Luke does not want to give the fleece over. He's explaining this to Annabeth. We cut back to that scene. He doesn't want to give the fleece over to her because if the campers get the fleece, they will have too much hope and they won't surrender. And I don't like, this is the second time we've heard this, I don't like that his plan for keeping camp safe is just try to overwhelm them so badly that they surrender. That's not a good, effective way to keep your friends alive, I would say. That's just me.
Yeah, I don't got any rebuttal there.
Annabeth reveals that she knows the fleece can bring back Thalia, and Luke is shook, but he says it's impossible, but he sounds like he's trying to talk himself into it. He goes, "Thalia's gone," and Annabeth says, "Look, we never saw what happened, so how can we know?" And she goes, "I always knew," and he goes, you wished it was true," and she goes, "So did you," and she gets up at one point and moves her hands a little bit, and I thought, because Charlie makes a little bit of a face, that he clocked that she was untied, but that doesn't happen, but I was really scared that there was going to be a situation where he knows that she is lying to him and things aren't going to go as well, but sneaky Annabeth remains sneaky enough. Luke says that Cronus would have told him if the fleece could bring back Thalia before poisoning the tree. Annabeth says, "Well, then ask him to tell you the truth." And immediately after that, Luke gets a severe pain in his head and starts to leave. So then Annabeth gets up. Allison enters the break room where Clarisse is hiding and asks if anyone is up for killing a traitor. And one of the rogue demigods goes, "Annabeth?" And Allison says that she got direct orders from Kronos, and she says she'll need backup if Luke gives any issues. So everybody, plus Alicia Gonian Giant, who is in there, leaves and joins her. And then Clarisse is stoked to stock up on weapons and leave. Percy enters the Admiralty suite, and then Cronus from the sarcophagus goes, "Hello, little hero," which is how he always introduces him. I like them giving him a little nickname that he has for Percy. It's fun to have evil seaweed brain, like from Cronus to him.
It reminds me of Palpatine. Palpatine always talking, I don't know if it was, I think Luke and definitely Kylo Ren as well, were my boy. Like he would always like that would be the introduction. And hello, little hero. Like it's very Palpatine-esque.
It's good. It's good. Percy shoots him a "don't call me that" look when he says it, which I also like. We see Annabeth grabbing her dagger and hiding. This search party led by Allison enters. Now back for Percy. Cronus tells him he knew that he would return, and Percy goes, "Return?" Percy says he remembers what Cronus said, how Percy's the key to his return because of the great prophecy, but Percy says, "You are wrong thinking that I will help you destroy Olympus." Percy is going to take the fleece, but Cronus says, "Ooh, I'll tell you the great prophecy." And Percy says, "You would just lie to me." And Cronus says, "No, I wouldn't do that. I have no need to." And then he starts to reveal it, but Percy stops him after the cursed blade line, so he leaves the final two, and he takes the fleece. It's a very good abrupt thing where Percy looks like he might be kind of falling under the spell, but then goes, "No, I'm just going to take this." And he just yoinks it. I liked it. Another fun, like, comedic-ish moment, but it was good. So now Luke is here in the suite. He is upset to see Percy, but he's more upset because what it means is that Annabeth lied to him. Ooh, and that's what's really getting at him. Now, Clarisse gets the giant with a spear in the back from the search party, and then she approaches the rest of the search party and goes, 5 against 1, huh? My kind of odds, which is great. This is such a fun thing for her. And immediately after this, we cut back to Percy and Luke grabs Backbiter and Percy wields Riptide, and they start to fight. Now, from my set visit, I knew that these two things were fights that happened because when we went and hung out with the stunt people, they showed us just the stunt people going at it, what the Percy versus Luke fight was, and then what the Clarisse versus 5 people fight was. So they showed us both of these in the stunt room. So I knew both of these fights were going to happen, and I was looking forward to them watching these episodes. I didn't think they were going to happen at the same time, and they're both so intense. They're great. I loved this. I was on the edge of my seat. It was great.
Yeah, good to see more like Clarisse solo shine because again, this is her quest. Like she's a quest leader, and this is by far, based on how this season has gone and who they've bumped up to series regulars, I have no doubt that there will be more original solo shine written for characters like Clarisse, Luke, Tyson. Because they were such an integral part of the press tour as well. But in terms of what is being adapted from the book directly, this is the time to go all in on a character like Clarisse. And I appreciate scenes like this this late in the game.
Yeah, definitely give us the points where we can unabashedly root for Clarisse. I feel like in the show, because we see more of her perspective, we are more likely to root for her. In the books, it's more like, oh, we don't like Clarisse, blah, blah, blah. But then when she does cool stuff, it's like, all right, fine, we'll root for her in this instance. And I am a big Clarisse fan from the books. So I love that we get to root for her more in the show. Everyone in these fight scenes is just going for it. Like Charlie and Walker, super intense fight. Dior, super intense. Like it's really fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And we get another great thing from Dior as Clarisse, which is the smile because I get to fight people move. And it's so great. Like it's so on brand for Clarisse, and Dior delivers this facial acting quite well. But it's just a fun, like, yes, I'm in my element. Let's go. I think it's great. It's like my eyes lighting up whenever there's a basketball court and a basketball somewhere. Like I was at a creator, podcaster, YouTuber event thing, and they had a basketball court and a basketball that I could use. And I was like, oh, baby, let's go in my element. Luke, during this fight, I don't know if you picked up on this, but to me, it really felt like Luke had the upper hand, the whole he's the better swordsman thing. It felt like he was fighting in a way where he was not necessarily trying to hurt Percy. There's a point where he very intentionally grabs Percy's arm, and then instead of slashing him with the sword, he bumps Riptide out of his hand. There's a couple of times where he kind of knocks him with a body part instead of a blade. It was giving a don't make me hurt you sort of vibe in the fight. And it does feel like Percy is outmatched. I'm excited to see how these fights progress as Percy and Luke continue to square off as the show and the series progresses.
Yeah, and I mean, based on trailer footage, fair to say we're gonna get a rematch for the season finale, which I'm stoked about, especially because I love a good sword fight with a good fit. And Luke is fitted in the season finale, it seems. And I believe Percy will have armor in that fight too.
Yes, he will.
Yeah,
From
so
what we've
again,
seen. Yeah.
it'll be a good uni matchup for anyone who watches like professional sports. Like I always pop for whenever like Thursday night football is going down and teams are in their color rushes. Like it's going to be a good uniform battle. But yeah, Walker often said when we had a chat too, he talked about how Riptide was getting bigger as the seasons go on because it's supposed to, the canonical reason it's supposed to match the wielder's body effectively, and as he
I
gets
forgot
older,
about this. I didn't know this was a thing.
yeah, so like it gets bigger because the sword needs to be bigger,
Sure.
because he will be taller and like he can't be holding like the small version
Mhm.
when he's a bigger human being. But canonically, the magical, mystical reason, the mythomagic reason for it is because it matches the wielder. That being said, it still like is so outmatched by Backbiter. Backbiter is a beast, and it is very tangibly felt in this brief battle we get between the two.
Yeah, from like the props itself too, like Backbiter is definitely a lot larger than Riptide at this point. I've held both of them. Backbiter is scary looking. Riptide is my best friend, and I'm excited to see. It would be cool if like Walker is able to keep at least one version from each season, and then he could have kind of like a display with each one. That could be kind of fun to have the Riptides as they grow. That could be cool. So Annabeth also gets in the mix because one of the rogue demigods sneaks off and starts to look for her. She is able to best this guy, which is awesome. It is Chris R, but not Chris Rodriguez, our friend from season 1. Percy then in the fight with Luke has the Annabeth hat drop out of his pocket, which I was very worried about. Percy then, as the fight continues, knocks Luke into the sarcophagus, and Luke is in a position where he has to hold it up. That allows for Percy to take the fleece and leave. He does not take Annabeth's hat, and I don't think it's because he isn't concerned about it. I think it's just he didn't know it fell out of his pocket. I'm assuming we will get something in episode 8, because it doesn't happen in this episode, where he goes, "Oh my gosh, I lost your hat," making me think, is Luke going to bring the hat to the fight? Because how else is Annabeth going to get the hat back? Like, she needs the hat. So I feel like that's going to happen. That's my, I have not seen episode 8 and I have no knowledge about this, genuinely prediction.
If this show had the guts to go for it, they would use someone on Team Kronos, maybe even an Allison Sims who doesn't pull her punches, using the hat to sneak attack a camper.
Whoa.
And have a first big death, because we really haven't had any major deaths up to this point.
Right.
Well, we had the death of the warrior in the siren scene. It was brutal by implication.
Mm-hmm.
Like seeing a bloody helmet, I was like, whoa, this show is really showing like there was blood involved in this body that got torn apart. And now that you planted that idea, I hope it happens. I hope we end this season with a very specific moment of now the tonal shift happens and we get not super dark, but like Prisoner of Azkaban level tone shift going into Titan's Curse. I don't think they'll do it, but I hope they do.
I think if there is a death, I don't think there's anyone on the Camp Half-Blood side that we like enough that can die that would make us sad. There's no one that's in that kind of like mid-tier that won't wreck the story kind of thing. So maybe they'll do it on the other side, and maybe it will be Allison. Maybe it will be she's the only kind of choice, unless they decide to like kill Aiden if he gets in the fight. So I don't know. I don't feel great about Allison's chances if they go the route of having a death in this fight. So I don't know. We'll have to see. So Percy's running away. He gets into the elevator. He does the thing where he hits the buttons rapidly, both to get it to show up and to get the doors to close, which is great and very relatable. But it wasn't enough, because Luke is able to just get him, almost jump scary, gets him with Backbiter just as the doors are about to close, and Percy is stabbed in the stomach. It cuts to black. I was screaming at my screen to use the fleece because you're literally holding it. He eventually does, but I feel like it took way too long for him to put the fleece on it.
I forgot about this moment until you just brought it up, because now I'm literally biting my words in real time, because I'm like, I want it to get dark. I remember gasping at this moment, and I binged these one after the other, not in the most ideal setting. I typically like to connect my laptop to TV and whatnot.
Right.
I had it on in a browser tab while I was at work, because I was just trying to find time within the day. And I remember like hearing the sound and then turning to get my full attention on the episode, and I was like, oh my God. And then like there's a wound there. It's not like he was clutching his stomach and cutting.
I was really surprised.
Yeah, I was like, they went for something there. And I will give Percy some grace, because I've never been stabbed in the stomach. But
That's true.
I'm sure I've experienced that kind of like shell-shocky reaction
Yeah,
of getting
yeah.
like spiked in the face with like a football or something, where you're just so disoriented you
Right.
can't think for a second. And so I can only imagine that he was like, what the hell am I going to like Elysium right now, like craziness.
Yeah, okay, I get it. And I also wonder if it's a thing with Backbiter having the celestial bronze and the steel. Did it like extra super hurt, or is it this some pain he's never felt before because he's getting hurt by a mortal and a demigod weapon at the same time? Could be that. But yeah, I was like, dude, you've got the thing that can heal it right away. He's doing the thing where he's like putting his fingers in the wound and looking at the blood. Maybe that's why they use pissed in this episode twice. They're like, well, we're already getting the rating because he's going to get stabbed in the stomach. Let's throw in some maybe kind of curse words.
I also wish, now that I'm remembering the scene again, I wish we got a solo shot of Luke reacting to seeing blood on Backbiter. I think that would have told so much about where he is mentally. Because I understand why we don't include that scene, because like, how could he not react without anything but remorse? Because that's such a definitive, like, if he was holding back, like you said, several times throughout the fight, there's a reason. But now he's executed a death blow. If that golden fleece isn't there, he just killed Percy, a kid that looked up to him for the entirety of season 1, except for the last 5 minutes, and a kid he was trying to recruit to his side up until this moment. I would have loved to have seen a quick 30 seconds of Luke just looking at the blood on his blade and seeing the facial expression. I don't need a single line of dialogue. I just need to see his face in that moment.
That would have been fun. That would have been interesting, because we've seen Luke be conflicted, particularly with how his actions affect Annabeth, but not so much with Percy yet. So it would have been very interesting to see, does he look shocked, like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this? Or was he super angry, like, Percy's dead to me now? That's interesting. I like that thought. So Clarisse wins her fight, and she goes, oh, I needed that, which is great. Annabeth rejoins her and is surprised that Clarisse went for her and not the fleece. Clarisse said she took a detour when she heard what these losers were planning. Annabeth says that Percy went for the fleece. Clarisse scoffs that C. Twerp could get it on his own. I like everybody having a different nickname for Percy. Then the alarm sounds, and she goes, it doesn't mean he has the fleece. Great. Clarisse and Annabeth are then on the Lido deck. Blackjack whinnies into action and helps take down the 4 rogue demigods who are ready to attack them. Love seeing this. Blackjack's flying looks great. Then Percy enters, and Annabeth goes, that's Luke's Pegasus. And Percy goes, no, it's not. That's Blackjack. He's a friend. And then he tells Blackjack to bring Clarisse to camp to complete the quest, which I love. Again, this is a change, because in the books, she just goes to an airport and then flies back. And there's the whole party. I guess the party pony stuff is just not happening. We had party ponies in the Iris message. And I guess that was the clue, kind of similar to how we had the Monster Donut cereal box to be like, hey, the Hydra's not in this one. Maybe the party ponies in the Iris message was, hey, we're not getting the party ponies. This is all you're going to get. We're still going to nod to it. But I like the flying back on Blackjack instead of the airplane thing, just because I feel like that, even when I read it, it's just such a different twist. It's just such a different vibe than the show, where it's like mythology, and now you got to worry about TSA pre-check. It just feels very different. Like, Clarisse has got to take off her boots and then make sure her liquids are under certain sizes. Really? She's going to empty her water bottle before going through the x-ray machine? Like, she's got to worry if she gets bumped up to a different seat. She's in a middle seat, but then the people on her sides aren't letting her get both armrests, which is her God-given right if you're in the middle seat. It took me out of it a little when I read it, so I understand them making the switch. How did you feel about this change?
I think it also makes sense. It reminds me of like the season 1 condensing of the Ares fight taking place in Montauk as opposed to out in California. And so, yeah, there's those little suspensions of disbelief where with a story on the screen, because visually you're seeing it all unfold, you can't just have like a time jump out of nowhere and skip a travel, while on the page you can kind of finagle your imagination. So yeah, a book change that I'm happy to make. It's not that, I wouldn't even call it like a change, it's just how you would naturally translate it.
I also think it's good because Rick at the time maybe didn't know how important Blackjack would be. I mean, even Blackjack has different pronouns in book 2 than the rest of the series. So knowing that Blackjack becomes such an important character, maybe that's a way for us just to like Blackjack even earlier. Just have Blackjack be a part of the quest. So I think this is fine. I don't think anybody's going to be upset about this one. And if they were, take a breath, take a lap. Of all the changes to be upset about, this one, I don't know.
I'm curious too, also on the Blackjack note, if Blackjack is the same Pegasus that we see in season 1 in the flashback.
Oh, it's gotta be.
Young Percy sees, like, I would have to imagine, but I wonder if because it's clear that Percy doesn't remember the Pegasus when he's like, oh, Pegasus captured and all that. So I hope that they find a way to maybe when they cast a voice actor, the voice actor will say something along the lines of, I've been keeping my eye on you for quite some time, Percy, or something like that. That'd be fun.
Could be fun. Could be really fun. Clarisse is surprised that Percy is doing this, saying, quote, "You're just going to let me win?" Percy explains that this is not about winning and losing. It's about getting the tree to camp. Percy apologizes for being rude about the prophecy, for using it against Clarisse. He says he was wrong in many ways, which I love. Percy's canonically very good at apologizing and does it often in the books. I think it's great that the books have it. I think it's great that the show has it as well. He says that he was wrong about her prophecy, saying that he thinks that what it really means is that she would fail without friends to help her fly home alone. And then Clarisse thanks him and calls him Percy. This is a very intentional thing because she has been calling him Jackson exclusively, aside from C-twerp, all season. So this reeks of when in book 3, Mr. D finally calls Percy the right name. For her to actually say thanks, Percy, I was like, whoa, that's big from Clarisse. That is a huge step for her to call him by his first name in a non-angry tone. Huge.
Yeah, I that's a detail that I admittedly did not pick up on, and it is so true. I can only ever recall her calling him Jackson. So Percy, they may not be friends, but they're one step closer.
They're getting there. Percy and Annabeth run to meet Tyson and Grover on the dock. Sally picks them up in a blue Toyota Prius. And Percy goes, "Guys, whose car is this?" Does Percy not know Sally's own car? Or, given that Sally lives in New York, maybe she doesn't own a car. Maybe she always rents a car in Montauk. But I don't think so, because there's an "I'd rather be teaching" bumper sticker on the back, which, have they changed Sally to be a teacher? So many questions in relation to just this car. But it's blue, so it feels like Sally would have picked that car. But like, I don't know. How does Percy not know the car? I have so many questions about the car. How did you feel about the car?
I mean, I'm trying to rack my brain around. I mean, I don't think she has a car typically because of the fact that they had to take Gabe's car to Montauk.
Yeah, but did she now get a car now that Gabe is a statue that she sold for money? She bought a Prius with that statue cash.
What is she doing in Montauk? Because they still live in the city. Is she just
she's just like grocery shopping and stuff. So I guess she's just like there because it's the summer-ish.
Let's call it a rental. I think rental is fair.
But then the bumper sticker. But then that would make more sense if she's not a teacher there. But like a rental car would not let you have a bumper sticker on the back.
And also the bumper sticker was a very, very specific choice. Like, it's a very obvious. Yeah. If that was a rental car in the real world, we wouldn't think anything about it. But like, because it was so visible. Yeah. You know what I'm going to do right now? And this is my own headcanon, because me and Virginia Cull have shared some great moments on red carpets about my mom, who is a teacher, who reminds me a lot of Sally Jackson. And our relationship is very Sally and Percy, especially from the books. And when we interviewed on the season 2 red carpet, she remembered that story I told her. And I was like, Virginia, it has been 2 years. It is a miracle that you remember this. And she was just very sweet about it. So I'm going to call that Easter egg a nod to my mother. Shout out Brenda Crowley.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that, or maybe this car is Paul Blofiss's and we're already getting early Paul stuff.
All right, my headcanon's gone, but it was a good 10 seconds I had.
Because he's a teacher, right? He works at the school that Percy ended up going to, so could be Paul's car. I don't know.
And he should be played by Paul Rudd.
Oh, God, that would be the best. Oh, it'd be so expensive, but it would be so good.
Because it would be super meta, too, because Paul Rudd plays Logan Lerman's teacher in Perks of Being a Wallflower, the original Percy.
It all goes around. It all goes around. I mean, look, I'm not one to do the whole Logan Lerman should be cast as everybody. Him being Paul Blofiss would be very funny. I don't think he's old enough to do it, but Logan Lerman as Percy's dad, as stepdad, would be really funny.
I think they'll get him in some capacity, but I don't think it'll be for a name, not necessarily not a named character, but I think he'll be in for one singular scene at some point in the next 3 seasons. I
feel neutral about it. The good thing of if they do it is interviewers can stop asking Walker about Logan Lerman. I don't know if you feel the same vitriol that I do, but whenever I see this like show up on clips, I'm like, can we stop doing this? Like, it's just for clickbait. It's so transparent. Stop doing this. Ask him a different question. Everyone's questions are so boring.
Well, I will peel back the curtain a little bit here. Anyone who consumes Percy Jackson media content, I think you can see a pretty clear divide on who knows the source material and who is doing the research in the weeks leading up. As someone who has the responsibility of being ingrained in several different franchises, I have no blame to put on anyone at a bigger outlet who doesn't know Percy Jackson. I binged all my Star Trek knowledge this past week because I don't know that franchise very well, but I was still tasked with doing the interviews for Starfleet Academy, and so I'm doing my best here, but I'm sure my questions come off as surface level to someone with an expert level of Star Trek intellect. I bring that up because, yeah, a lot of interviewers do bring up the Logan Lerman thing for a cheap headline. But on a second note, second time I interviewed Walker for season 2 press, he on his own, when I asked him what a big goal he has is for Percy Jackson in just the future of the character, he said that he would just like very kind of generic answer of, who knows what the future holds, but I'd love to keep going. But then he said on his own, he was like, I'd love to do something where me and Logan sit down together and we watch the first 2 episodes of the show and the first movie and just like talk about it.
That's cool.
And he brought that up on his own. I remember saying this to him in that interview. I was like, is that on the record? Can we like print that? And he's like, yeah, sure. I brought it up while we were recording, and also you didn't ask me about it. I just wanted to say it. So that being said, okay. I do think that there is a desire for legacy people to be involved in some capacity. I know I'm on a rambling monologue here, but I'm just remembering this beautiful interview we had. Walker has a fight scene in season 3 with the stunt double for Luke. I believe Jake Abel played Luke in the original movies. Jake Abel's stunt double as Luke is involved in season 3. I don't know what character he's a stunt double.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
But there's he was telling me, it was a crazy meta thing of I'm fighting Luke from the movies, but it's not Luke because it's a different character, but this guy was a stunt. It was like a crazy little thing. And I think there's a great appreciation for that with the cast. It reminds me a lot, honestly, of the way that Hayden Christensen has been embraced by Star Wars fans now that the prequels are beloved. Yeah. Obviously, people don't love the execution of the story, but I do think people do truly beloved the actors involved. And yes. That is why, once again, because Logan Lerman's name is constantly just circulated around.
Right. No one faults the actors in those Percy Jackson movies. In the second one, some people were great. Fillion and Tucci were awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some. Yes, Stanley Tucci I forgot he was in Sea Monsters. Goddamn.
Bring back Tucci. God, I would love Tucci in this show. God, give me Tucci in literally any role. Tucci could be a fun Paul Blofiss. Give me any Tucci.
The line I remember of his was when he's like, the Christians have a god who can turn water into wine. Now that's a god.
Yeah. Look, Tucci. Give me Tucci in any capacity. I will watch Stanley. That's I think my most boomer take is I would watch anything that Stanley Tucci is in, just because there's classic old people are I'll watch anything with Julia Robertson or whatever. Tucci in any role, sign me up. Any film. Tucci, I'm down. I'm always down for the Tucci. Always down. Anyway, Percy Jackson. So Sally, while driving everybody to Camp Half-Blood, does the classic TV show sort of, hold on, let me get caught up to speed, and kind of reiterates what's going on with healing Thalia. It does give the whole card an excuse to talk about it. Percy looks sad, and I was wondering, why does he look sad? But he is worried from his dream. He's worried because Thalia showing up in his dream was all scary. And I was like, oh, right, that's why he said, oh, yeah, okay. It took me a bit. Grover says he's not really sure what will happen when 2 equally powerful forces of divine magic collide. So then Annabeth has the line saying, so when we get to camp, she could already be there, which I wonder how they will do the reveal. Maybe they're trying to avoid a CGI coming back from a tree thing, like how bad the one in the end of the Sea of Monsters Percy Jackson movie looked. So I don't know. It opens the door for showing up at camp, and Thalia is just there. And I'm intrigued for episode 8. I haven't seen it. Super stoked.
I also wonder how they will do the execution of it, because it's a surprise in both the book and the movie, but this time there's an anticipation that Thalia will be there. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Now, back to Luke. He is angrily asking Kronos in the suite why he didn't tell him that the fleece could bring Thalia back. And then he gets this brain pain situation again. He falls to the ground. It's so intense. He assures Kronos that he's loyal. He gets up, says, I've sacrificed everything for you. And then Kronos goes, then prove it. The barrier still stands at the Olympian camp. The time for your mercy is over. Join our forces, burn camp to the ground, and kill the son of Poseidon. And while he's doing this on a monologue, it shows the Laestrygonians charging up their fireballs and getting ready to throw them at the barrier. And it's cutting back to Charlie as Luke having these intense pains in his head. He's holding the sides of his head. And then when the final line is delivered with the kill of the Son of Poseidon, he's, on the ground and raises up with this really sinister look and stares down the sarcophagus. And then the episode ends. And that's the end of episode 7 of season 2 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. It's a good one. I'm so stoked for the finale. Really, really excited for it.
Yeah, I want so much more of this side of Charlie's acting going forward. Like, I love what that scene brought out of him. And I yearn for that level of ferocity from Luke. And it will come once he fully embraces the dark side. But it was a nice little teaser trailer, a nice little appetizer of how good of a villain he still can be.
Right. I think for me, this was we're getting evil Luke now. Like this could be the turn. We've had go back and forth, hesitant Luke, but given the end of this episode and then some of the clips we see from the next time on, it feels like we're just going to have full evil, angry Luke that's going to be setting the new tone for what he is like in the future books. So we'll have to see. But that's the end of this episode. Liam, thank you so much for joining. If people want to find you doing stuff, where can they find you doing stuff?
Yeah, all socials are at Liam T. Crowley, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm really most active on Instagram, far and away, but I have become like a daily poster on TikTok. I'm trying to up those, and it's not really like career stuff. I just kind of do like walk and talks about life. There's just so much to talk about in New York City. I still talk about my career, but like behind the scenes stories. So if that's something that piques your interest, I love sharing stories from red carpets and junkets and other events and fun stuff around the city, and also just life advice. I think I lead a pretty interesting experience, and I learn a lot about myself through reflecting in a TikTok format. But if you like the interview clips, if you like, I don't know, events and stuff like that, I'm in New Orleans right now for Fan Expo, moderating a couple panels, and I might be in a city near you at some point later this year. So for any updates on that front, just stay locked to my socials, and I keep it pretty consistent with posts and stories and all that good stuff. And stay tuned for maybe at least one more piece of cool Percy Jackson content. That's all I'll say right now.
Ooh, I love the teaser. But yes, if any of you enjoyed any of the junket stuff that I did, it would not have been as good without Liam sending me a very, very helpful voice memo note that I studied and took to heart, because you have done a bunch of these and I had never done one before. And truly, the whole junket experience, it was so fast and chaotic and wild that had I not known what I knew from you going into it, and there were still curveballs, like when I had to interview Rick first instead of last 5 minutes earlier than my first interview was supposed to be, and all this stuff. Had I not been so assured about all the other stuff, I would have been a mess in all of the interviews. Like when they told me that Rick thing, that was enough for me to try to overcome. But thankfully, I knew everything else I was getting into because you explained it. So thank you so much. Cannot thank you enough. And if anyone enjoyed what I did, it is thanks to Liam that it turned out good. Because otherwise, I would have been, I would have been stressed. It wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't have been as good for sure.
I like imparting my very unique random knowledge onto anyone. So the fact that Mike even asked me, that was really cool. But yeah, I worked that junket scene 2 or 3 times a week, and it's such a rhythm, but like it's so irrelevant to 98% of the people in my life. So when Mike asked me, I was like, yes, I get to give my manual to someone.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is a very weird specific thing, but you told me some of the weird specific things to know that I was not told beforehand, and I'm glad I knew, like how it begins, how it ends, you know, how you start the interview process. Like they didn't tell me, they were like, slate yourself, and I'm like, I don't know, that like thankfully you defined that to me, so it was very helpful. I appreciate it, and the result was better interviews because of it. But Liam, thank you so much for joining. This was a delight. Listeners, thank you for listening, and until next time, as we see what's going down in the finale. Until then, see you later. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of the Newest Olympian. This podcast is created, hosted, and produced by me, Mike Schubert. I also run the social media and the website. Our editor is Sherry Guo. The music is by Bettina Campamanes and Brendan Krugel, and the art is by Jessica E. Boyd. If you can't get enough of the show, you can go to thenewestolympian.com/Patreon for bonus episodes, bonus content, ad-free episodes, a whole bunch of fun stuff. If you want to interact with the community around the show, you can check out the Discord, which is available to all patrons, or we're on social media. We're at Newest Olympian on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter, and we've got a subreddit, reddit.com/r/thenewestolympian.
You can also show your love for TNO by getting TNO merch at thenewestolympian.com/merch. Of course, want to give a huge shout out to our producer level patrons: Kelsey Gillespie, Vicky Garcia, Frida Vikstrom, Megan Moon, Polly Burge, Nikki Harris, Tatiana Schmidt, Sandra Rose, Josh Sayer, Sam Ruby, Mrs. O'Leary, Milo Kim, Sandkopf, Rayla Matthews, Sky Mallory, Mick Walters, Grace, Ginger Spursboy, Bradimus Prime, Skylar Sisters, Scott Sheldon, Ann M. Thayer Cohen, Bella, Percy Jackson, Kit Kat Crumbs, Jim Jam Koopy, Andrea, not Andrea, Jordan Ray, Nico's Black, Vespa, Zayden Wintergate, Terry Rothfuzz, Certified Ghost King's emotional support friend, Lee Hartley, and Persasabeth. If you want to support the show in a non-monetary way, word of mouth is essential for podcast growth. You can tell a friend directly, say, hey, there's this Percy Jackson podcast I think you would like, check it out. You could leave a rating and review on whatever podcasting app you're using, or you could just talk about the show on social media. All these things really do help. I really appreciate anyone who has done so in the past, and I appreciate anyone who will do so in the future. But I'm just so thankful that you tuned into this episode, and hope you tune into our next full episode. We will be joined by our very own editor, Sherry Guo, to break down the finale of the second season of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. But until then, I'll see you later. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me, ASMR, back in my normal position at the end of the episodes. I'm going to be posting in some audio here. Kelly, the baby, and I went to the Melbourne Museum, and they have this little outdoor nature walky kind of area where there's lots of birds and other animals crawling around, flying around, etc. And there's a bird that sounds like a blaster from Star Wars. I'm not sure on the type of bird. Maybe a magpie? Not positive. Definitely could be wrong, but it made a cool noise, and I got it on a voice memo. So here you go. Thank you so much for listening.